Hey, Daily Dosers, Chris here. Happy Monday. Happy Thanksgiving week to each and every one of you. And welcome to Bonus Monday, where we do a little bit more from a message, stuff that hit the cutting room floor. Today, I get to take you to one of my favorite scenes in the entire Bible. I mentioned this weekend about a God that doesn't make sense to us and a God that doesn't explain himself to us. And we were very honest about we don't like following things that, well, don't make sense to us and aren't explainable. And so we looked at this whole idea of what do you do with a God at times that he doesn't make sense? He's not explaining himself. You can't figure it out. In fact, you and I both would say what God should do and what life should be, and it's the opposite. And God, where are you? And I told you one of my famous passages was in Job, a guy that had his life and family just crumbled around him, and he's crying out to God. And for 37 chapters, he's got friends that are well-meaning but idiots trying to tell him, you must have sinned, you must have provoked God, God isn't like this. And Job's like, I haven't, I'm not. And Job finally in his frustration starts demanding, God, why don't you answer me? Why don't you show up like a man? Aren't you brave enough to tell me what I've done wrong? And in chapter 38, God answers. And I told you this week, God doesn't explain himself at all to Job. God makes himself even more inexplainable. And I love this. Just listen to me about the size, the power, the majesty of your God. Then the Lord, after 37 chapters of being questioned, 37 chapters of being doubted, then the Lord answered Job out of the storm, and he said, who is this that darkens my counsel with words without knowledge? Brace yourself like a man. I'm about to question you, and you have to answer me. Where were you when I laid the earth's foundation? Tell me if you understand. Who marked off the dimensions of the universe? Surely you know. Who stretched a measuring line across it? On what were the footings set? Who laid the cornerstone while the morning stars sang together and the angels shouted for joy? Who shut up the sea behind the doors when it burst forth from the womb? When I made the cloud its garment and wrapped its thick darkness? When I fixed limit for it and set its doors and bars in place? When I said, this far you may come and no further, here is where your proud waves must halt. Have you even given orders to the morning or shown the dawn its place, that it may take earth by the edges and shake the wicked out of it? The earth takes shape like clay under a seal. Its features stand out amongst those in the garment. The wicked are denied their light, and their upraised arm is broken. Have you ever journeyed to the springs of the sea, or walked in the recesses of the deep? Have the gates of death been shown to you? Have you seen the gates of the shadow of death? Can you comprehend the vast expanse of the earth? Tell me if you know all of this, Job. It goes on for 2 more chapters. 2 more chapters of Job sitting down, buckled up. I picture his hair just blasted back. And God is just hurling question after question after question after question. You're going to question God. You're going to demand that God makes sense to you. You're going to demand that God explains himself to you because it doesn't seem like your life is working out. And God shows up and says, I'm not going to give you an answer. I'm going to give you more questions. At the end of 2 chapters of a torrent of questions like this, Job says this in chapter 40. Verse 6, Job answered the Lord, I'm unworthy. How can I reply to you? I put my hand over my mouth. I spoke once, but I've got no answer. Twice, and I'm never going to say anything again. And the Lord spoke to Job out of the storm. Brace yourself like a man. I'm still going to question you, and you will have to answer me. God says, I haven't even gotten started yet. It's another 2 chapters of questions. And at the end, Job taps out. And he basically says, I know you can do all things. No plans of yours can ever be thwarted. I spoke of things I didn't understand. I questioned the one I had no business questioning. I see who you are. And God says, you don't have a clue of the size of the God you serve. Oh, on this start of a Thanksgiving week, North Coast, can you just stop and pause? And so many times we focus on God, I don't understand. God, can you give this? God, why aren't you doing? God, why did you do? God, can we just stop in Job 38, 39, 40, 41, and 42 and say, God, thank you for being beyond my comprehension, beyond my understanding. Can you spend the next few moments just thanking God for who he is and what he has done, not for demanding him to explain himself for what he hasn't? Let's start Thanksgiving week by just giving thanks. We'll see you tomorrow.